delighted to have Michael with us from Wisdom K-12, and he's here and not even a tornado could stop him from joining us. So thanks so much for being here.
You're very welcome, Dr. Hansen. It's a pleasure. And yeah, nobody was injured, but late last night a tornado warning came, and I ran into the basement. And this morning I had police officers knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, there's a tree down, several trees, and it's blocking the road. We just thought we'd let you know and make sure you were alive." So I'm alive and well, and I'm here, and I'm happy to be talking AI and Wisdom K-12 in my book, From the Chalkboards of ChatGPT, and how that all came about.
Fantastic. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in education and technology?
Sure. So I started out as an English teacher too many years ago. And after that, I went into curriculum and instruction as a supervisor for my district. After that, I went to an organization called the College Board, which is responsible for the advanced placement exams and also the SAT. And I was a senior manager there. And we talked about equity and access for kids that don't normally get a chance to go to college. And that was
Mm,
very rewarding. Then a company that you may have heard of called Scantron. If you've ever had a number two pencil and a bubble sheet, that's pretty much considered a Scantron sheet. And I
yes.
was vice president. Yes, I was vice president there for our online side of the company. And after COVID, I left there. And just last year, literally about a week, 53 weeks ago, my mother passed away.
Oh,
And it's, yeah, it was a shock. But the reason I bring it up is the person who is my co-founder of Wisdom K-12 was actually my ninth grade teacher. Her name's Ruthie Robbins. And she ended up being my cooperating teacher when I was a student teacher. And then I became her colleague on the same English staff. And then I became her supervisor. So we've known each other for so many years, and she's a dear friend. And but she's an English teacher, still a practicing English teacher. She lives in Buffalo, New York, and she teaches eighth graders, seventh and eighth graders at a Catholic school there. And she was actually trying to get a hold of me to offer condolences. But it was at that time of the year, right about now, when finals were coming in. And Ruthie is a lifer. She is the type of person who puts her heart and soul into every essay that she grades. And
mm,
she was taking 20, 30 minutes because she gives robust feedback for every kid. And she remembers which kids had, which issues, and she builds on it. And
mm,
we talked about that, and it was affecting her health. She was at that point, she had just turned 70. And the only reason I bring that up is we talk about it in the book that even though Ruthie has been at this teaching game for 50 years, when we talked, I had just learned about really generative AI and chat GPT in particular. And we started to talk about how perhaps that's a way that I could help her for all the times that she's helped me in my career to really get a grip on how she could save time, not only with grading student essays, but also with everything else from an organizational standpoint, creating assignments, finding things that can make the classroom better and really be more efficient. So when we started that, um, we had a wonderful time, and we started to think, this could be a book. Ruthie's a published author. She hasn't written anything quite like this. She's more into the nonfiction category, and she had just come out with a book about a restaurateur that we all know, and it's really doing well here in America. But um, she just literally didn't have the time. So when we started to do all of this, the idea for Wisdom K-12 came around, and we thought, the feedback that we're getting while we're just feeding these things, her kids' assignments into the tool, which wasn't even really a tool back then. It was simply just ChatGPT, and I would manually put them in. We decided, all of the things that we've learned over the years, that this generative AI tool could actually change the game,
mm,
not only for teachers to save time, because it was saving a lot of time by providing the robust feedback, but the kids were actually reading the feedback, and actually it was bringing the teacher and the student together in a feedback loop that was so much more meaningful. And it's almost like Craig, when you go to the doctor's office for a checkup, you don't normally see the doctor right away. You see
Right.
either the tech or the nurse, and they'll take your vitals, and they'll ask you why you're there and if have you had any problems. And then the professional doctor comes in, takes a look at those notes, and then has a conversation around that data. So we almost look at Wisdom K-12 as a triage nurse, if you
Right.
will, because all the teacher now has to do is the student will read their feedback, the teacher will get a report that talks about what that feedback is, and taking a minute to read that feedback and having that conference with the student, we found was really a game changer. And so Ruthie started to evangelize it at her school. And we started to see a lot of great things happening, not only for the kids, but for the teachers as well. So that's why we, got some software engineers, and we created Wisdom K-12, and now we're in about 6 schools here. We're really close to having our full product done by the end of the month. We just presented to the ISTE Global Impact Conference, virtual conference,
Mm.
on our Writing Across the Curriculum initiative with Montour School District. And what we're finding is not only are the teachers loving the feedback the kids are getting, but they're literally saving, in their instance where they're asked to do 3 writing assignments per 9-week period, it's saving them up to 2 full days of grading. And that grading is not done on company time. It's done on their own time.
Yes, of course.
And right. And most teachers really want to do the best that they can, but
Yes.
they don't want to end up like Ruthie was. There's a picture that really is poignant, that Ruthie was asleep on the floor with all the papers strewn about her, and her family took a picture of it just to memorialize the fact that she really was giving her all. She was getting maybe an hour or 2 of sleep a night, and
No.
um and so I'm proud of her for all that work, and I'm really proud of the tool, because now we can give people something that's very hard to give back, and that's time. So
Mm.
it's very exciting. So that's kind of the story of how we got here. And we're ready to make more waves, and hopefully change writing education, which we have found is not done as much as it needs to. We've become a very rote society,
Mm.
checking the box, back to my Scantron days, fill in the bubble. But really, true critical thinking um, comes through writing. Writing is thinking that you can edit, thinking that you can expound upon things that are thinking that really takes all things into account of what you've learned, and being able to communicate that.
Mm.
One, yeah, one of the things that we've also done, we've sponsored some STEM young ladies. It's called the Ladies of Launch here in the city of Pittsburgh. It's sponsored by the Pittsburgh Tech Council. And what we found is these girls were brilliant. They're 10th and 11th graders here in the United States. And um, they came to us and said, we know science, we know math, but we don't really know how to write because we haven't been asked to write. We've
Wow.
been doing, our science projects and things of that nature, but because I think the amount of time that it takes out of a teacher's day, they're reluctant to give those types of assignments. And what we
Right.
found is that the girls of Launch loved it. We've actually given a few scholarships away to 2 of the girls that wrote a beautiful essay about living a purposeful life. And the other young lady, we have a speech component where that you can put a speech in there, and it provides feedback. And she actually is writing or wrote about and spoke about her project to bring dental care to all of the students or the children in the Dominican Republic. She's a
Wow.
missionary, and she's done work there. So one of the great things is, and we say writing can change lives, and it can
Mm.
it can really make an impact. So one of our board members for our company actually owns a company in the Dominican Republic. She knows some of the people down there, the health minister. We're connecting Danica, her name's Danica Pertel, and they're going to have a meeting, and they're going to talk with USAID, and we're going to see if we can get her book that she's created for those kids distributed worldwide. So
Amazing.
those are the types of that's the reason that we do this, is to save teachers time and to make this world a better place.
I love that the original notion there is that it creates some feedback that then the teacher and the student can have a conversation about, and the teacher can't doesn't have the time, has the time, but shouldn't be spending their 2 till 6 in the morning grading papers and writing feedback. And we want to get good feedback straight away so we can have conversation with students and really help them raise their game, raise their level of effectiveness in their writing and writing with more clarity. What else is being built into the Wisdom K-12 platform that we should see coming out soon?
Yeah, so two of the things that we're going to be doing that we've told our algorithm, our deep logic, is number one, we want it to be encouraging to the student, and it's always very, very positive. Now,
Mm,
we don't make it sugary sweet that if a kid makes no effort, they're going to get an attaboy for doing nothing. But what we're finding is, and what the kids have told us is, when they go in, they don't feel like they're being judged. They're not
mm,
being they're not letting their teacher down, because they're not getting red marks on the paper. It's more constructive feedback. And to be honest, it's more feedback. We actually had to dial back a little bit of the feedback because our tool was giving so much feedback that we felt that the kids might drown in it, and the teachers as well. So we've tried to
mm,
get the tool to give about 3 or 4 real big pieces of what we call wisdom. And what we've told our teachers is, have that conference. We call them the 2-minute conference. And, with about 20 kids or 22 to 25 kids in your class, in a 50-minute period, you can get to every student and have a conversation. The other thing that we've found, Craig, is that students and teachers don't necessarily conference all that much and talk
mm,
about their work outside of punitive, hey, this didn't go well here, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But we really believe in that, in the positivity of the feedback. The
mm,
second thing that we've made our tool, and we think is very important, is that for every one of the rubrics categories, that our tool pulls out specific student quotes from their writing, because it shows that our tool's not generic. It's really
mm,
honing in on that personalized need of the students, and
mm,
the kids love that aspect of it. The other thing that we have in the works, and is two things. One is called a loop, and what we're calling that is a lesson objective attainment profile. So what's going to happen there is, at the end of a lesson, it's really kind of an exit ticket on steroids. So a teacher would provide the student with a exit question about the objectives of the lesson. Did they get the learning? Just because you taught it doesn't mean it was learned.
mm,
And also a reflection point. So for the last 5 minutes of the period, if you will, or for an overnight homework assignment, they will provide that exit ticket response to see if the objectives have been obtained, and then also feedback on whether the modality of the instruction could be changed. For instance, it would be better if we didn't do a lecture here, but what if we did a Socratic seminar? Or what if we did, anything else that the student might find a better way to learn? So what we do with that is, after a lesson, the 25 or however many kids, their responses will be put into the tool, and it will be amalgamated on the back end, and it will be one report for the teacher. Because this isn't a punitive piece for the student. It's more for the teacher's benefit to see, did what I teach get learned by the student? And number
mm.
two, were the students engaged and were they interested? So that's one of the things, and that came out of our conversations with a lot of the teachers that we're working with. The second piece that we're creating is called a swipe, and that's called a student writing interest profile entry. So it's more of a diagnostic. So at the beginning of the school year or of the term or whatever it is, might be, the student will take about 4 or 5, depending on the teacher's preference, 5 essays, and they're not long essays, but they're several paragraphs. We ask the students specific questions for their grade level that's going to indicate a few things. The LLM will be able to, from 4 or 5 essays, be able to identify what that student's reading and writing level are to about a half grade um, span. But also what it does is, we'll be able to glean from those swipes what the students are interested in writing and reading about.
Mm,
And as you know, I think all teachers know, but they're sometimes constrained by the curriculum. We're asking kids to really work on very boring things that they don't
mm,
have any interest in. And when you give them that student choice in what they want to write about or what they want to read about, we just see them soar. So this is going to give teachers in their diagnostic report what's the student's grade level right now in terms of their writing and their reading, but also what are things that they're having trouble with in their writing that they can work on for the year, but also about 4 or 5 topics based on their writing that they can maybe do more with.
right,
And when you have a writing assignment, give that writing assignment that is going to interest the child in the student in doing their best work, and then build on that. And eventually our hope is that, integrating project-based learning, and portfolio creation, that at the end of the year they'll be able to see that progression and then present a multimedia presentation and final writing assignment, which would, basically create a nice thesis, if you will, for that grade based on the student's interests.
right.
So those are all things that we have in the works. And, then of course, integrating with other tools, the Google Classroom and things like that. We're going to be
Mm,
able to do one button pushes and be able to upload Google Docs into our tool and have automatic scoring. Right now, it takes about 45 seconds to a minute for the students to get their feedback back. And then they can go right into refining. Our big idea, or our big mission here, is that feedback delayed is feedback denied.
mm.
And if
Oh, I
we
like that.
don't give the kids, yeah, if we don't give the kids the same respect, we ask them to do things, right?
Mm,
We ask them to put their time is as valuable as anyone else's.
mm,
And if we don't have the respect to give them immediate feedback or near immediate feedback, the kids have moved on.
yeah.
I'll tell you one quick anecdote. When we first started putting the software together, our software lead engineer has children in high school. And one of his kids had a ninth grade essay on it was a narrative. What is a thing in your past that you've overcome and you're proud of yourself for? And he wrote about he got cut from the basketball team the previous grade, and he worked really hard and he made the team as a freshman. And he talked about that. And when he got the assignment, he wrote his first draft, he put it through our tool, and he got an 82. He took that feedback, rewrote it that night, put it back in through our tool, ended up with an 89.
Mm,
So we were all excited to see what grade was he going to get, because he actually submitted the paper. So we waited a week. We waited 2 weeks. Literally, we waited 6 full weeks before the developer called and said, "We finally have it." And I said, "Share the feedback. What was the score?" He said, "Well, the only thing I can tell you is he got a 90." So we were 1 point off, and the feedback was he got a 90. There was nothing written of feedback or even great job at making
right.
the team again. He had already moved on. He was proud of that paper, and we
Mm,
were proud reading it, because he overcame. When you ask those types of questions, that's not just a rote assignment. It's an important thing for that child. And if we want kids to embrace school, and if we
mm,
want them to embrace education, we have to have the respect for the student to give them the feedback and at least show that the assignment has worth
mm,
beyond getting 90. So he may have only got an 89 on ours, but he got so much more feedback. And at that point, we knew we had something. So
mm. I love that you
feedback
talked about.
delayed is feedback denied.
I love that. I think that's a great saying. I also love that you're talking about the rubric actually having examples in the rubric from the student's own writing, and that when students see themselves in the feedback and they see themselves in the process, it's so much more powerful. So I really do like that. Did want to compliment you as well. You were talking about the red pen, and it's one of the pages on your website about no more red pen, and it's a beautifully designed website. Great images there. They look like Gen AI images, but really high class. Well done. It's very
Thank you very
attractive.
much. And they were AI generated. We really believe that AI can change just about everything that we do. And
Mm,
we are so much faster and more efficient in how we run our company. Um, but it's still very authentic. And I think one of the things that we found is that teachers are very, very nervous that students are going to start turning in, AI driven content. Listen, the bottom line here is kids are going to find ways to cheat.
mm,
It's happens. It's the beginning of schooling.
yeah.
But I believe in the fact that if we provide kids with the feedback and the interest in having that conversation and having it be a journey, kids aren't going to want to cheat because we're
Right.
showing them that we care and that the assignment has value.
Mm,
And one of the other things in our professional development that we've been creating and are starting to put together and actually put in schools is how to redefine the process of writing and feedback, creating a feedback loop culture, because it will change the way your classroom runs. And um, kids are really starving for relevance in
yes.
education beyond just produce the score. And
Mm.
we're just finding the kids are just loving it. The teachers are loving it. And, we just couldn't be more happy about how things are going.
Well, thank you very much for sharing this all with us, Michael. What's the best way for people to reach out to you and to Wisdom K-12?
Actually, just email me, mike@wisdomk12.ai. We will return your email. We're actually open to pilots right now, all across the globe. Anybody that speaks English, and to be honest, we are pursuing now through the ease of ChatGPT other languages and how we can help other students of other
Mm,
languages write more efficiently. So that'll be our next piece that we add in. But we think this is an international piece, and we would love to get some teachers in New Zealand. I've made friends with Paul Matthews, who's in Tasmania. He's got his My Teacher Aid piece. We're talking with people in the UK. I just did a conference in Nigeria, and also talking with some folks in South Africa. We want to bring wisdom to everybody because, again, every kid deserves to have a relevant education where the teacher and the student can come together and really make a difference.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.